Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me back on your show again. And
No,
your graphics at the beginning of this, you do your graphics now are looking amazing.
Yes, excellent. Well, we can thank our IT man for that, Ted,
Yeah.
because we have no idea how to make them sorts of things, but they look good, don't they?
Yeah, they do. They do.
Excellent. So how have you been?
I've been good. I've been busy. I'm absolutely shattered now. I've got 2 days before the election. I've been working on this full time for 15 months.
Yeah.
The last 6 weeks has been crazy in a good way, as in everything's going on now where, I've spent a year where no one cared about the mayor election. It was too far away, but social media, meeting people, doing interviews, speaking about things. I've even started doing live events now on Facebook, and I had a handful of come and meet me in a pub in the city centre. So I've been really busy, but it's been really, really good.
Yeah. That sounds like my kind of campaign.
Yeah, in a pub.
The Britain's Protection, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, well, that is the pub. Yeah, the Britain's Protection pub in Manchester City Centre.
If you've ever been in, have you ever noticed every single one of the frames, the friezes that are on the wall? Bobby Charlton appears in every one of them because he was a United fan.
I've never noticed that.
When you go in, you'll see different. Basically, the Britain's Protection was where the Peterloo massacre magistrates sat above the pub.
Right. Yeah.
And they ordered the cavalry to go in.
Right.
So there's different friezes as you go in, but as you go in, you'll see this man, and he's got glasses on, and it's him. It's
in all the photos.
He's a different cameo in every one of them. So there you go. You can have a look at that, and you think, bloody hell, that stands right.
I've been going in there for years. I live across the road from it, and I've looked at the pictures because it's all about the massacre, the Peterloo massacre. But I've never noticed that before. But I'm going to find that out.
Brilliant. There we are. So you've given some knowledge out there, Stan. Well done.
See, your podcast is not just entertaining; it's also educational.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
We're going to go to the Welsh government because of that very fact to see if we can get a grant.
Good luck with that.
They'll pay us to shut us down. Look, we'll give you $1 million. Just go away. Just stop. That's not important. But in all seriousness, I think these elections that we've got coming up now, it reminds me of when I was younger and I used to watch the wrestling, and the hype that's around it now is totally different to when I was younger. And I think these elections are probably the most exciting elections that I've ever, obviously apart from Brexit, that was probably the most exciting election. But for local elections, I haven't seen them as, in demand. People are searching for who their candidates are. Although the media aren't reporting as much as they should be to let people know and spread the awareness these are going on, and same with the councils, the people are out there asking, who do I vote for? I've asked you the same, so many people asking, who do I vote for? What's your experience been out on the campaign trail? Because it's been a while, but the last 6 weeks in particular.
Yeah, no, I agree. An extra point to that is for people watching this, local elections are the most important elections you vote in, 100%. Because you can change your area if you change your councillors or your mayor. You've got very little influence over national government. They will do what they want to do. This is the elections if you want change in your neighbourhood. But for me, I've been going out and about. Lots of people are disillusioned. Lots of people hate the Tories, which is understandable. And they've been decimated in Greater Manchester at this election, according to the polls. People also hate Labour. I've been told many times, Nick, I like you as a person, but I hate you all. Nick, you will change if you get elected. If I give you my vote, you're going to be crooked as well. You're going to climb the greasy pole. There's a lot of disillusionment now with our politics, our political class. And to a certain extent, we brought it on ourselves we keep voting for the same parties and the same people, and they keep letting us down. But there is some change coming. You can feel it in the air. You can feel it when you speak to people. There's tectonic plates moving now. It isn't just blue or red anymore. People are looking at the small parties. People are looking at independents. People are more clued up now than they've ever been before because of the internet, because of social media. We're not the fools we used to be 20 years ago. You can't pull the wool over eyes as easy now. Hence, people like you're doing a great job for Wales by letting people know the truth and showing people there's options. This elections will be interesting to see what happens. But then the general election will be, let's see what really happens there. Have things really changed? Have we had enough?
Yeah. See, Nick, I've been in Manchester Council chamber, and I know that you had aldermen that sat around the edges, and they were of all hue. You know, they were the great and the good. In fact, actually, Bobby Charlton was a freeman of the city, and you had people there. And what the Labour Party did was they got rid of that position, because they didn't want people that had no vested interest to speak out on issues and get their other opinion come in. And then, of course, and the best type of politics in Manchester was when you had, I don't know, 40 Labour people, 30 Labour people, 30 Liberals, 30 Conservatives, and them all having to amend or to change the policies and listen to the opposition, so that they come out with a unified policy. Now they've got rid of the Conservatives. It's a total Labour controlled council, and of course those brown envelopes fly along because they don't need to. They don't need to do anything. And it's the same with Andy Burnham. Andy Burnham's done this. He's kept his fingers in his ears about the grooming gangs in Oldham and other places as well. And those are the people that he wants on side. And that's the issue that you've had, Nick.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And there's another point to add to that. When you're a Labour politician or a Tory politician in a Tory safe seat, when you have no competition, when you have no one holding you accountable, you can do what you want. You can ignore the public, because I don't need you. I'm going to be voted in anyway. So I can ignore you. You get the best out of your politicians when they're afraid of losing their seats, because they will work harder, more diligently, and they will take your views on board when they're scared of losing their seats. When you have a safe seat, the public are irrelevant, and that's not how democracies should work.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to comment on something you said just now about the feedback you've had, and you've had the same, haven't you? Where someone will say to you, if you get elected as MP, you'll change. You'll start seeing the money and start enjoying that and starting to spend a little bit. But and that's it. That's why I believe that's done by design. So again, it discourages people from voting, but it also discourages good people, from standing, because then they're going to think, well, what is the point? Because we've all been through election campaigns, and they are grueling and tiring. They're a slog. So to do all that, and a lot of people then would think for nothing, it does put people off. So it's good, obviously, yourself. You're not going to be you're not going to change to try and climb any greasy pole. You're in it for the right reasons, and the same as you. And what needs to happen is that people need to lend you that faith and just say, right, you've got a chance, let's go. And that's what needs to happen. The whole shift needs to happen.
And you're quite right, Nick. It's better that if you've got people nipping at your ankles, because you have to listen to people. And that's the whole thing about being a politician. It's to be able to go into a room and people are who oppose you, but you listen to them and you take on board what they want, rather than just believe that you've got their vote and you don't need to talk to them.
I will take advice from anybody. I will keep some of the work Andy Burnham's done in Greater Manchester. And the reason why I say these things, I just want Greater Manchester to be better. I want my country to be better. I'm not here to ignore a certain politician because they're the wrong colour, or have got the wrong rosette on, or sit for the wrong party. Because I've not got all the right ideas. I've not got all the information. The aim all the time for politicians should be what's the best for the country. But because they're all connected to political parties, party comes first. And if party doesn't come first, you're not standing for us again. So they blackmail politicians who go into I think most people go into politics for the right reasons. But then you become corrupted because you want to keep your seat, you want to keep your influence, and you need the party to do that. So then you become a slave to the party instead of a slave to the people. Hence why I'm standing as independent. I have no bosses sat in London telling me what my policies are. My policies are what I say my policies are, and my only boss are the people who vote in Greater Manchester.
Yeah, and being independent, if you hear a better policy, you can say, actually, that's brilliant.
I'll steal it. I'll steal that policy.
Yeah. And again, like you said, we are in a tribal sort of state now where people will say, perfect example in Wales, anything that the Conservatives say in Wales, it's wrong. No matter what it is. It's like the Conservatives come out, they release a statement, the sky is blue, and the Welsh Labour voters will go, they're lying. They're lying, and that's just because they're Conservatives. Whereas, as an independent, you're in a privileged position where you can say, well, listen, this is what Andy Burnham did right. I like that. I'll keep that, keep that, keep that. This is what he did wrong. I'm going to get rid of that, and that. And you're in a privileged position to do that because you haven't got, a one rule for all manifesto that no matter where you are in the United Kingdom, you have to follow these pledges because everywhere in the UK is different. Manchester, for example, will have totally different concerns to Swansea, Connecticut, Carmarthen. Yeah, totally different.
But the issue with Andy Burnham is, of course, that because it is a Labour area, you've got your chief constables and them. They know what the Labour Party policy is, and they know what will please them.
Yeah.
So they're Black History Month, great. We'll do that. Pride Month, great. We'll do that.
Yeah.
And they'll do all the socialist things rather than what they're supposed to do: crack and detect crime and keep you and I safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all police forces across the country are failing on this. And part of the reason is because we've made them answer to politicians. So the chief constable, his line manager basically is the mayor, Andy Burnham. Andy Burnham is the police crime commissioner for Greater Manchester. He can dictate strategies. He can dictate priorities. So the chief constable takes his direction from the mayor of Greater Manchester. And that's where you have the power. That's why the police do the things they do. I'm sure most officers don't believe in half the things they're spending time on, but they do as they're told because that's their job.
Yeah, and you're right, Nick, where you can pinch good ideas, because actually, again, a long time ago, when they did have a Greater Manchester Council, they did a 20-year plan, a 10-year plan, and it was about the M60 ring road, and their planning was brilliant in the respect that they weren't going to build either over the M62 and also inside, so that you had boundaries that merged into each other, a bit like where you've got at Oldham. You've got Oldham, Wearmouth, and as you go up, and they all seem to blend into urban sprawl, and they wanted to keep those boundaries. That was a good idea. Greater Manchester wasn't a good idea. I'd rather it be kept in Lancashire, and a bit like the Bolton lot who want to go back into it. So there are good and bad policies, and only the blind party followers will only ever say, no, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. Whereas you're in a brilliant position. You can say, no, that's right, that's wrong, that's good, that's bad.
Yeah, I think history means a lot to people, where they came from, what their ancestors were. And the Welsh are good at celebrating their history. The Scots are. The English, we're terrible at it, because we're always accused of being racist if we try to celebrate our history, our heritage, our culture. Now, Greater Manchester was made up of 3 counties, so most of it's Lancashire. We've got a little bit of Yorkshire and some Cheshire. So people of Bolton, a lot of them still feel they belong to Lancashire. Lancashire's 1,000 years old. It has a memory, it has a feeling, it has a way of doing things. But these new areas were created to help control people, help to get rid of the old past, because we're going to give you a new past, and this is what you need to follow. And we wonder why people are depressed and anxious and don't feel connected to their communities or to their cities. And these are people of nowhere because we destroyed their roots.
Yeah.
And did we do that for a reason? I don't know, but we need to get those roots back so you belong to your neighborhood, to your community, and that will give you, a sense of peace, a sense of belonging, and then you can improve your neighborhood because you feel you belong there.
If you go over to Delft, Diddle and Dob Cross and Saddleworth, you'll see that the Greater Manchester signs are still painted out because they were part of Yorkshire.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
It's a bit like down in Wales, where they paint out the English. But it's the same thing.
But we've
that
seen,
roots, that belonging is important.
And it's simple little things, like I've experienced, and you can see it in Swansea. I've noticed the change, from when I was younger to now. I live on the same street now that I grew up on as a child, and I used to be able to walk down that street, and you'd see people, and it's like, oh, should we stop in there? We'd knock the door and walk in and go say, and you see them, they are your community. Now, you walk down the road, and I'm always amazed. It's like cameras. Look at the difference from that to that. Door wide open, anyone can walk in, to CCTV cameras on every house. That doesn't scream community and belonging. That to me is a sign that people don't feel safe. They don't feel happiness. And they don't feel like they're part of anything, because you can't rely on your neighbours. And I know that yourself as a person, that's the type of thing that you want to get back to. The good old fashioned community spirit and like you said, belonging.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've never had the way you've phrased that. Then is fantastic. I'm going to steal that. I like the way you phrased that about the cameras, no more community, feeling in an area, because that's perfectly correct.
Yeah.
We think cameras are going to keep us safe, but what those cameras are, they're a defense against our neighbors. Who wants to live in a community where you need to defend yourself from your neighbors? Yeah. It's not somewhere we want to live. We need to develop communities and neighborhoods of choice, places where people actually want to live and want to move to because you're there for the long term. We don't develop that anymore now because we're too transient. We're traveling the world, traveling the country. We're always looking for somewhere better. And the truth is, if you want better, you need to stay put and turn where you live better. Yes. That's what you need to do. And I would rather live where I live now and be poorer, but happier. Why are we always pursuing riches? Why are we always looking about GDP? Why are we always talking about what we earn and the standard of living? Because we're getting a better standard of living every decade in this country, and have now for 200 years. And all my life, every decade we've got better. Everybody is more depressed, more fed up, and more lonely, and on antidepressants. And it's like chasing money and materialistic things. Yeah. And not the answer to our problems. The answer to our problem is community, family, and having children. And if we're poorer, but we've got that, we're actually a lot richer.
Yeah, and again, you're spot on. I seen a brilliant meme, I suppose it is, and it says, and the headline was, not all technological advances are beneficial, and it shows, a load of children in a living room. They got a big TV, and they're all playing the computer. They've all got a control pad each, and then it fast forwards to today, and it's one person sitting alone with headphones on, playing on their own because their friends aren't there and they're not around them anymore. So there's so many different things that are, the computer games are part of a child's life and has been since I was a child.
Bring back the Monopoly board.
Well, that's true though, because
we used to steal the money when somebody went to the toilet.
Well, that might have been you, but no.
Or put more houses on.
No, yeah. Well, there we are. There's an omission there. That's who Stan is.
One of my favorite quotes when we're talking about that subject there is the Chinese man 1,000 years ago who invented the crossbow. And the crossbow was revolutionary because you didn't have to train to use the crossbow. You could pick it up, you could fire. To be an archer took years of training, but a crossbow made things simpler. So it was a piece of technology. And he's quoted as saying, with a technology as dangerous as this, surely this is going to end all wars. Mm. How wrong was he? Yeah. Technology isn't always taking us to a peaceful, happy tomorrow. Sometimes technology will destroy us.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. It's a double-edged sword, I suppose, because there's a lot of stuff that we would never know is happening. Like, for example, just the last American elections, there was lots of questions about what went on. We would never even heard about it. It wouldn't have even got over here to our shows if it wasn't for social media. But then on the other hand, you've got children then looking up to people who, I can't remember, Nicki Minaj and people like that, and the drill music scene that's going on at the moment. So, there is no wonder that people are depressed and feeling low and low self-esteem because of the environment that people are growing up in now. People aren't outdoors as much now as they should be, and it needs to get back to that.
Exactly.
Yeah, we are social creatures by design, and the more we remove ourselves away from other people physically and use technology, the more depressed we are. One of the punishments we use on the most dangerous, horrendous criminals is isolation. Why? Because we're social creatures.
Yeah. Well, when we spent our time in the cell, we got away from it. Obviously, we found not guilty and case thrown out and everything. But still, we spent 36 hours locked in a cell on my own and your own, and it drives you mad. I couldn't believe how horrible it was.
We had a lunatic at the side of us who was
screaming all night. I reckon that was the police taking an intern to go in and us up through the night. But you're right. We are social beings, and we do need that interaction. And it's important that people get here and people are free to say what they want, and they're given the platform that they need to be given. And that moves me on to your campaign and the certain things that have gone on in your campaign. For example, the hustings, where you basically wasn't invited.
Yeah, appalling. So, there's been 2, 3, 4 dozen hustings. I've been invited to 3 of them. 2 of them I couldn't make because of diary commitments, but all the big ones, all the ones you would want to go to, so the BBC, the Manchester Evening News, the Business Network, all the big ones all said to me, we're not inviting you, Nick, because you're just an independent. So 6 people are standing and they only invite 5 candidates. I knew I was going to be treated differently, but we have a sense of fair play in this country, and that just stinks.
Well, I didn't know it was 5 or 6 candidates, 5 invited. There's no excuse for that. They could absolutely invite one more. Surely.
Yeah, absolutely. What have you spoke with the Electoral Commission on this, or
yeah? So I haven't, but lots of people have complained on my behalf. I already knew it was legal to do this. There's no legislation around hustings. The BBC and Manchester Evening News come under Ofcom. And people have complained to Ofcom, and the BBC and the Manchester Evening News, their excuse will be, we've mentioned him previously, he's on our website, so we believe we've treated him equally. The legislation for Ofcom doesn't say you have to give people equal time and equal exposure, only you've got to treat them equally. And these are just get out clauses. I've not been invited because I'm dangerous.
Yeah. Well, you are, because without being in any of them, the hustings, I'm going to share the screen here, which is Manchester Evening News. New poll suggests surprising results of Greater Manchester mayor elections. And you've got you further down, so it's got a new poll published saying, obviously, Andy Burnham is what they're saying is going to win. Second place, and then obviously you've got here independent candidate Nick Buckley, who stood for reform at the last mayor election 2021, is also polling at 9%. So you're polling at 3rd. And that is without getting the mainstream sort of attention from the hustings. And I think that goes hand in hand as to why you weren't invited. Because if you were given those platforms, would you be higher than 3rd? And that's what they have reported, and I never trust the polls. So whatever they're reporting, I'd say, you could probably push yourself a little bit, a few percent up anyway. Yeah. But how much would it have helped being on those, the BBC and, those platforms for the hustings?
Oh, it would have helped massively. The BBC aired their hustings on TV, would have got a couple of million viewers. They're all potential voters. Same with the Manchester Evening News. They've got hundreds, a couple of 100,000 people watching their hustings online. Yeah. These are voters I could have tapped into. I'm the only candidate who would have been on the stage who, when they spoke about what they were going to do, I'm the only one with actually frontline experience. So all those candidates, if they want to tackle crime, tackle rough sleeping, tackle all these social issues, every one of them would have to employ someone like me to do it for them. I'm the only one who would be stood on that stage going, I don't need to employ someone like me because I am me.
Yeah.
And I know straight away how to fix these problems because I've been doing it for 20 years. Now, they've kept me out of them and I'm third in the polls. Second place is only 2% higher than me.
Yeah.
So at the moment, I've already beat the Greens, the Lib Dems and the Tories. And they've kept me off TV.
Yeah. What's the margin of error in the polls?
It's usually 2-3%.
So you could still win.
No, because this poll shows Andy Burnham's on 63%.
Ah, right, okay.
So Andy Burnham looks like he's run away with it. Yeah. I'm not sure. Andy Burnham probably will win, but I don't think he'll get 63%.
No.
But let's say I come second, which is doable.
Yeah,
that's a huge success.
Absolutely.
Massive, yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, without a doubt, especially as well because of the hustings treatment. I think I genuinely think that's scandalous because the media is very powerful. Everyone says about how we need to change the politicians. We need to change the politicians. I would argue that first you need to change the media, because the way the media treats politicians goes out to the. I remember walking around in COVID and the lockdown, and obviously I was thinking, nah, this is all crap. Yeah. But I was walking around the streets, terrace houses all around Swansea, and I'm thinking every one of these houses has got a TV. Every single one of them sitting there with a BBC News on or Sky News, and every single one of them are just lapping it all up. So it's incredibly powerful, the media, and how it can literally shift the narrative, just like that. So to not give you that platform, I think is scandalous.
It is.
And I think they're going to have to answer some questions if I come second, because Ofcom says they need to treat people equally and represent the public. If I come second, they need to answer why they didn't think my views were worthwhile airing.
Correct.
They need to explain what they did, how that was fair. Yeah. So they'll have some questions to answer. But I knew I'd be treated like this because I'm not going to repeat the mantras they want me to repeat. I'm going to be showing the hypocrisy. I know I'm not controlled opposition like some of the small parties are. You can't control me. I am a danger to the establishment. Yeah. If the establishment is your golden goose, I'm a danger to you because that's not the game I'm going to play. So they kept me off air and have tried to keep me down for a reason. But again, I'm not moaning, complaining. I expected it, and I've kept going. And because the public seem to be responding to what I'm saying, what I want, it's sort of backfiring a little bit because at the moment, I'm third place. I would imagine I'm going to come second, and then they're going to have to answer these questions, aren't they?
Yes, no, and they absolutely are going to have to answer them. It's just who's going to actually hold them to account because we've done it before. We complained to the police, for example, and a police officer of the same station investigated. We've had it before where we've complained about a police officer and they give it back to the police officer to invest his own complaint about himself.
Yeah,
it's that bad. So it's the same then with the media and with the press. Whenever we've had complaints, because they write about us all the time, you're writing to their buddies, asking them to do something about it, and it's a difficult battle, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And that's why I've not lodged any official complaints and don't intend to, because I'm not playing their game. I don't care what you do. I don't care how you treat me. That doesn't affect me in my game. I'm going to play this game on my rules, not your rules. And if I try to start playing their game, then I'll turn into exactly what I'm fighting against. I pay them no attention. You're not important. I will go to the people. I will go to the public. I will give them my messages. I don't need you. I don't need your permission to help me run my campaign.
Yeah, excellent. Nothing like reform these days then, because they apparently leave the vet into the media. So, but that's another story.
Yeah.
So your campaign, obviously, you've got the election is coming up 2 days' time, May the 2nd. Is it going to be counted through the night? Because we've been speaking to Henry Curtis, who's the candidate police and crime commissioner for West Mercia. And his ones are going to, some of them, Telford area, are going to be held overnight and then counted the next day. When are you expecting your results?
So my results will be 48 hours later on Saturday afternoon. I've got a little bit of an issue here, as in we vote, we have them in sealed boxes, the votes.
Yeah.
They then get taken out and put into bags. Those bags then are stored for 48 hours under lock and key. I'm not saying there's any fraud, but that isn't a good situation. That's not how you should be running elections.
No.
So some people will. So there's 10 councils in Greater Manchester. Some will be counting their votes on the Friday afternoon, and some are counting their results on the Saturday afternoon. And then about 3 p.m. Saturday, we'll find out the results. So I've got 48 hours to wait, but I'm not 100% happy with the system that votes are not counted straight away and are stored for 48 hours.
That should never be the case.
No, it should never be.
It should always be, and especially when you've got different councils doing different things. You know, one area, and you've got different councils behaving differently. That, you know, it should be uniform. There should not be.
But they shouldn't be tipped into bags. They should be, if they're going to steal. I nearly said steal. If they're going to seal the ballot boxes, which they do, you're breaking the seal and putting them in bags.
Yeah.
No, that's wrong.
And it's been this way for the 3 elections we've voted for mayors in Greater Manchester. This is the same system.
Well, it's wrong.
That's unbelievable. That is unbelievable.
It is unbelievable.
It's another example of how incompetent we are as a country now. I'm not for one moment suggesting this fraud. There probably isn't. But we shouldn't have systems that are open to fraud.
Yeah. But what's changed? Because that was never the case. It was always, you know, as they're coming in, they're getting counted and going out. What has changed?
Cost savings. You've got to pay council staff to stay overnight to count ballot papers. So councils don't want to pay that money anymore now for council staff. So they'll count the local elections on the Friday during the day, in which case the council staff are already being paid, but just taken from other jobs. So it costs us nothing. And then the Saturday, we'll have some council staff counting them again, but we don't have to pay them night shifts that can be paid as Saturday shifts. It's all cost savings. Our democracy is all about saving money.
So democracy suffers for cost.
Yeah. Well, you know, you've got to be honest. You've got to be fair. You know, elections, you know, this is one of them things. What's important is pride and having the rainbows up everywhere. You can spend money on that, you know, but little things like the elections and security, you know, that is only a small thing.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. But, you know, it's good to hear that you are out and about, and the reception that you're having has been really good out and about.
Yeah.
Not only out and about, but also online. I mean, you two guys get abuse online. I've had hardly any abuse online. I would say 99.9% of my engagements and messages and comments online for the last 15 months, and especially in the election period now, I'm getting hundreds of positive messages a day out of all the platforms. I mean, I had a guy tell me yesterday he's never voted in 61 years. And he's going out this Thursday to vote for me for the first time. I've got people telling me they're old Labour voters or the Tory voters, and they're voting for me. The amount of positive feedback has been touching. It really has. It's kept me going.
Yeah, no, that's really good to hear, because you normally have the detractors out in force trying to do everything that they can, but when it comes down to when there's no way of we've seen it from Buckley, when there's no way of changing the view of the area, then they're irrelevant.
Yeah.
So the detractors aren't going to be there. So and that is it. You know, we're in a time now where people are proactively looking for representation because they haven't been bothered before and they've just let it carry on. But it's got to a point now where they're like, right, we need to do something. Yeah. We need to find someone. We need to sort this out. And you know, it's great to hear that they are seeking that in yourself.
And I think part of the reason why I'm getting that response is because I've been really accessible. I would say I answer 95% of all messages, all comments, all emails. And the 5% I don't is because I've missed them.
Yeah.
But I'm also doing live events on Facebook where you can type in your question. I'll answer it live on air. I've done events at Britain's Protection Pub where come along, even for 2 minutes, ask me a question and leave. That's fine. I'm making sure you can ask me anything you want, and I give you the truthful answer. I've given people answers, and I know straight away you're not voting for me because that's not the answer you wanted, but you're getting the truth no matter what.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to twist my words, answer the question half-heartedly, so you go away thinking I'm going to do that where I know I'm really not.
Yeah.
Because when I get elected and you don't get what you want, you're more disillusioned then. I'm now basically a liar. I'm basically everybody you hate in politics. Yeah. So I tell people all the time, I'm not doing that. And they go, thank you for your honesty, but I won't be voting for you. And that's acceptable. That's how it should be. Give the people the truth and let them decide. Stop trying to hoodwink them. Stop giving them false promises. Stop twisting your words like the president did, Clinton, when he said, I did not have sexual relations with that woman. Because he used the dictionary definition of sexual relations, and that didn't include the woman getting on knees and performing oral sex on him. But so stop being sneaky, stop being twisting words. I give people the honest, straight to your face. Here's the answer. Do it politely. Here's your answer. Don't vote for me. Don't vote for him. But you've had the answer, and everyone I've given an honest answer to has always said, Nick, thanks for your honesty. Yeah. Most of them have said, I'm not voting for you, but thank you for your honesty. Some have then gone, do you know what? Because you're honest, I'm voting for you anyway.
Yeah. And because honesty is few and far between in politics, isn't it? So, I suppose even if it wasn't the answer they were looking for, the honesty is probably something that they were looking for because something they've been searching for such a long time. Because that political talk you said there, sexual relations, perfect example, that happens all the time. And they will, and they'll go, right, this is how we get out of this. We'll say it in this way, so it means something else. So technically, we haven't actually said it, but in reality, we're totally lying to them. But it also pleases them, and
exactly.
Catch yourself out. And so it's great. Again, honesty is very important, especially when it comes to politics.
And you heard it on here, folks. First, Nick Martini Buckley. Anytime, any place, anywhere.
Yeah. Only me and you in our age group will get that joke. Anyone younger than 45 has no idea what that. It's a funny joke, but no one else would understand that unless you're over 45.
There was an advert, and it was Martini,
right?
And it was anytime, any place, anywhere. And he said that he's doing all these 24 hours.
Yeah. Got you right over there.
But I've got a knowledge quiz. So you come out to the Britain's protection.
Yeah.
And immediately on your right, there's a pub there.
If out turn right, that's the Rain Bar. Opposite the Rain Bar, you've got Peveril of the Peak.
So that's this is my pub crawl now.
Right,
so you go into the Peveril of the Peak, and do you know what that's famous for?
I don't know, but it's the most beautiful pub on the outside in Manchester City Centre. The most beautiful.
It's got the last horse-drawn stagecoach ticket to London.
Right.
In there. And the reason why it's called the Peveril of the Peak is the first stop for the horses was the Peveril of the Peak in the Peak District. There you go. And then after there, you go straight up towards Manchester City Centre and turn left. And then you've got the Temple of Convenience.
Is that the one that used to be toilets underground? Yeah.
So you go downstairs.
Right.
And it's a long bar. Then you come out of there. This is my fourth and only one because I'm sozzled by then. So you come out and you turn right, and then you go towards the train arches next to the theatre.
Yeah.
And just inside,
you've
got, I think it's called the Duke of Clarence. All the bikers go.
Right, I think I know the pub. It's not called. I don't think it's called. I don't recall that name.
Duke of something. I'll have to look. But that then I played pool and finished up the night. So there you go. That's my pub crawl in Manchester.
Yeah.
There we are. I'm sure everyone's gonna be thrilled with that. Good stuff. So you've got. What are you doing now? Are you spending the last 2 days out and about, or are you gonna sit back a little bit and rest up, or have you seen it through? No. There's no resting. I've got 48 hours now to do as much as I can. It looks like I'm going to be spending it doing interviews. I've just done the Maya Tusi interview. Doing this one with you now. I'm trying to get as much publicity as possible. I'm spending every minute on social media. I'm trying to reach the people who are entitled to vote but have given up. Up to now, people know who they're going to vote for, but that cohort are my secret weapon. If I can reach out to them, if they can understand I'm just like them, I'm not a career politician. If I can get 10%, 20% of them to turn up, this election could be won. I could win this election with their vote. They don't realize how powerful they are. The elites, the politicians,
don't want them to vote because they're trouble.
Correct.
That means we'd have to do what they want us to do. We pay them, we give them benefits to sit on their ass and do nothing. But the deal is keep your mouth shut and don't vote.
Yeah.
You're an Englishman, you're an English woman. Be patriotic, be formidable. You're amazing. Go out and have your voice heard. You need to have your voice heard. You're as valuable as everybody else. That's what I'm trying to do. They're the people I'm trying to reach.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, memes are a source of knowledge. Just a little picture, and it was Welsh politics because there's 46% turnout, 3.3 million in Wales, and it was one man on his own with a placard, and he said, one vote won't make a difference. Said 1.5 million people, and that's I thought that was spot on, because if that 1.5 million people in Wales woke up and they went, no, we're voting for them, that would shift. The whole Welsh politics would go overnight, complete 90-degree turn, and
clean it up.
Yeah, and that, I think that empowering of people, because people do feel useless. People feel like, well, what's the point? But they do need to realise that they are not useless. They are very powerful, and if everybody used their vote wisely, the whole country would be in a completely different position. Because everybody complains. Look, you're on Twitter, you're on social media. Just scroll through Twitter, and if it's not stabbing in London, you're going through, nobody's happy, everyone's complaining, but then you see the posts where there's no point in voting, and that is disheartening. And there is a point in voting, isn't there?
No, absolutely. And we need to think about our ancestors. If our ancestors had that attitude, we'd still be peasants answering to an overlord. But they knew change could happen. They knew it would take a long time. They knew some of them would have to die. Freedom isn't free. Freedom is paid by the blood of patriots. And that's what our ancestors did. So sitting at home thinking there's no point in voting and nothing's going to get better, and well, if our ancestors did that, we'd be living in mud huts still. We just need some faith. We need to start looking and being more patriotic. That maybe we can't change the country for us. Maybe we can only change our country for our grandchildren to have a better life.
And that's it. That's
worth it in itself.
Yes,
that's it, Nick. Because if the 50% of Greater Manchester went to the Women's Museum to see the sacrifices that they made to get the vote and to get the franchise, and then the Peterloo massacre that was ordered from the Britain's protection, and the people that broke in the Peak District the right to walk, the right to roam, but for those people standing up and saying that is wrong, this is right, we'd be in a far worse position than we are now. And so the people of Manchester need to vote for this man, because we need change. We don't need the same, we need change.
Yeah, and those people you just mentioned then, they didn't stand up knowing they were going to win. They stood up, and the whole elite and the forces were stacked against them. They stood up because it was the right thing to do. And many people stood up to do the right thing, and they were destroyed. So these people didn't know they were going to win. It only looks obvious when you look back in history that they were going to win. So sometimes you need to fight even though you think you're going to lose, even though you may lose. That's still a fight worth having, because eventually one of those fights will win and will change society, will change the world. But I'm tired of people telling me they'll only vote if I can guarantee them I'm going to win. Well, it doesn't work like that.
So I guarantee I'm going to win if you get all the people that won't vote to vote. Job done. So I suppose we're coming towards the end now. What would be your final words for people? So anybody who's watching this who is in the area to vote for you, what would your final message be for them? For them,
vote for me if you want common sense. Vote for me if you want someone to fix the foundations of our community in our region, because there's no point building anything else at the moment, because our foundations are crumbling. We need to fix the basics. And what I mean by that is, let's fix the police. Our police aren't working in Greater Manchester. They're doing better than they were, but don't forget our police went into special measures. You couldn't get any lower. The government took them over. So let's fix the police. Let's start hammering criminals. Let's make sure criminals are afraid. I don't want you to be afraid to walk the streets anymore. Let's get criminals afraid. Let's stop this pink and fluffy nonsense that criminals are also victims. It's rubbish. Hammer criminals. I want you to keep your car. I want you to have a car and drive a car. I don't want you penalised. I don't want you driving at 20 miles an hour. I don't want you paying fines and CAS and ULEZ and pay per mile and congestion charges. I want you to keep your car. I'm going to be a pro-motorist mayor. I'm getting rid of all this net zero, all this lunacy. Cars are here to stay. I'm keeping my car. You'll keep your car. Let's look at the tax we pay. We all pay far too much tax in this country. We pay the highest amount of tax now since 1948. And 1948, you can understand it a bit. We've just come out of the Second World War.
Yeah.
We're paying more tax now, and our services are getting worse and worse and worse and worse. Giving them more money isn't the answer to our service problem. I'm going to reduce council taxes in Greater Manchester. I can't stop them. I can't stop what the council take off you. I can stop what the mayor takes off you. So I will reduce heavily what I take off you every year. Then let's look at the failing services, failing civil servants. I'm going to name and shame top civil servants in Greater Manchester who run failing departments. Why can't we fix the potholes? And when we do, why the holes again in 6 months' time? Are you telling me we don't have the technology to fix a pothole that will last 20 years? Are you telling me we can't have decent social services? Are you telling me? I mean, let me tell you this. Greater Manchester NHS have just gone into special measures a couple of days ago. Our NHS, which the mayor sits on the board for, have gone into special measures. Why? We're spending all our money on rainbow crossings in hospitals and badges and this and that and diversity officers. We don't do the core work anymore. And the people running these departments, I'm going to go to the BBC and Manchester Evening News, and I'll stand there with live interviews, and I will name and shame and give the name of the top people running these departments. And if it ruins their careers, so be it. Because I know the department next door to them will go, oh, things have changed in Greater Manchester. I've got skin in the game now. I'm not having that mayor ruin my career. Therefore, my department will start getting better. Otherwise, I'll start sacking my underlings. And that's called skin in the game. Yeah. So they're the sort of things I'm going to do. And a big thing I'm going to do for the people who love democracy. The mayor of Greater Manchester was forced upon us in Greater Manchester. Nobody voted for it. Nobody wanted it. I'm not saying it's a good role or a bad role. What I'm going to do is go back to the people and say, do you want this role? I'm going to give them a referendum. If you vote to keep it, we'll change it, we'll make it more answerable to the people. But if you vote you don't want it, we're going to scrap the role of Mayor of Greater Manchester, because the people need to make this decision, not the government in Westminster, who forced us on it, who promised councils more money if you accept a mayor. That's not democracy. The people decide, and then we'll go with their results. So if you like any of that, I'm the man for Greater Manchester.
Excellent. Brilliant. And I think, that is exactly what people need to hear. And to be honest with you, want to hear, because this is what matters to people. You're mentioning things that really matter. I remember there was an old picture, and I can't remember where it was, but it was London. One of the streets in London was being done up, and they pulled off all the road, and it revealed the cobblestones underneath. They were still there, perfect. And it was like, oh, if you want to go and see the old streets of London, go to this street because they told it all back. And you think they're unmarked. There's no blemishes. But you drive around places now, the roads in Wales, you're bouncing around the place because of the potholes. So the fact that they say that they can't do it is nonsense. They just go for the cheapest possible way because there is no money. Because the money's going toward things like rainbow lanyards and pens and stuff in the in the NHS, and people are wondering why the priorities aren't being done. Yeah, and I think obviously, as you've just put it there very nicely, you would prioritise the priorities, the actual priorities. Yeah,
and it's the old saying, isn't it, Nick? Because I know what Burnham says and all the others. They say, "Oh, that's only 5% of the budget or 2% of the budget." Go back to Mrs. Thatcher. Look after the pennies and the pounds will look after themselves. And that's an old expression from the Northwest.
Yeah. And my expression is, how dare you ever waste a penny of my money?
Yeah.
It's not 2%. It's not 5%. It's taxpayers' money. How dare you waste any of it.
Yeah, exactly.
If it was a business, they wouldn't have their job, you know. And what's happening is they're getting promoted for doing a terrible job. In politics. But there we go, Nick. We'll definitely keep in touch now over the next. Well, it seems like a week until we get back from your results. But obviously, we'll keep in touch and we'll find out what's going on as and when. But we do wish you, all the best of luck. You've obviously worked tirelessly over the last 16 months, you said, on this campaign. So, we wish you all the best.
Exactly. And if I can do this in Greater Manchester, then a Welsh version of me needs to do it in Wales, and needs to do it in the North East, and needs to do it in London, and needs to do it in Devon, and needs to do it in Cornwall. This can be done. Don't wait for someone like me to do it. Stand up, start doing it yourself.
Excellent stuff. Nick, thank you very much for jumping on the show with us today. And it's always a pleasure. And again, wish you all the best of luck in your election.
All the best, Nick.
Excellent. Cheers, guys, as always. Been a pleasure.
Goodbye. Bye.